Batman has been one of the most popular comic book characters to ever appear on the silver screen. It's been almost 8 decades since his first incarnation on cinema. It's no surprise that this Cape Crusader, initially created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger, still holds a special place in our hearts, even in 2022. So, before you see this Dark Knight's latest outing in theaters, here's our video to shed some light on Batman's journey through cinema over the decades. So, without further ado, I am Atharo from Illogical Creations and this is Batman Through the Ages.
Concerned. I've seen you go through similar phases in 2016 and 2012 and 2008 and 2005 and 1997, 1995, 1992 and 1989 and that weird one in 1966.
Before we begin, we have to be clear that today we will be only focusing on the live-action theatrical appearances of Batman and not his TV appearances nor the animated films. We are sorry, the Lego Batman movie.
No. No.
Early films and Adam West. The very first incarnation of Batman on film was done in 1943, at the peak of World War II, starring Lewis Wilson as the first Cape Crusader. Wilson created a Batman which was highly era-specific. Being a World War era production, like most American films during that era, Batman 2 had a propaganda lying beneath it. As a result, the villain was a Japanese person, Dr. Daka. Despite his flaws and errors, Batman 1943 gave us an introduction to the iconic Batcave. In 1949, a sequel to The Batman was released titled Batman and Robin. In this version, Batman was played by Robert Lowry. Well, the success of these two films inspired Adam West and Burt Ward's 60s serial, another reincarnation of Batman. In 1966, they starred in a feature film as well. Now, Adam West's style was very different. West is remembered as Batman in modern era more than Wilson. This version of Cape Crusader was campy, silly, intentionally humorous and very simplistic in its moralities. The creators mainly focused on the teenage audience and created an almost parody-like version of Batman. In 1986, Tim Burton took over the direction of first Batman film and we got Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher franchise. Burton brought a very different version of Batman into production. Many actors were considered for the role of Cape Crusader before the much controversial pick of Michael Keaton. Keaton was criticized by many as not a competent enough actor to play the role. Boy, did he prove everyone wrong. Burton's Batman was dark and broody with a brilliant production design of Gotham City straight out of a fantasy world. His iconic vision gave us a brilliant iconic scenes. Scenes like
made mistakes. Then he had us.
Lights out! Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
True films by Tim Burton also gave us amazing characters like Jack Nicholson playing the Joker, Michelle Pfeiffer playing Catwoman, Danny DeVito playing the Penguin, and Christopher Walken playing Christopher Walken. After a not so overwhelming performance of Batman Returns at the box office, WB felt that this series needed to have a rather mainstream approach, and they started doing some changes. Joel Schumacher replaced Burton as director. Val Kilmer and George Clooney replaced Keaton in Batman Forever and Batman and Robin respectively. Both these sequels were a disappointment. While Batman Forever is still watchable due to the enigmatic energy of Jim Carrey, Batman and Robin is just purely awful, filled with just terrible puns.
The Iceman cometh.
Yeah, moving on. These two sequels stopped any future Batman films like Batman Unchained, and which ended the era of Burton-Schumacher franchise. Reboot attempts before Batman Begins. In early 2000s, the studio was planning a live-action adaptation of Batman Year One. The studio hired Darren Aronofsky to direct and co-write the adaptation with Frank Miller. They had written a draft that was brooding and a realistic one. This film would have gotten an R rating. They approached a number of actors like Freddie Prinze Jr., Joaquin Phoenix and even Christian Bale. But in 2002, this project was cancelled. The Nolan Trilogy. After the cancellation of Aronofsky's Year One and another cancellation of Batman vs Superman, WB hired Chris Nolan and David Goyer to write Batman Begins. We think the rest is history. Batman Begins was darker in tone and a realistic take on a Cape Crusader. Batman Begins followed the origin story of Bruce Wayne like never before. Nolan's brilliant use of practical effects, Bale's defining performance as Batman, this became the perfect reboot one could have hoped for. Following Batman Begins, we got one of the best superhero films of all time. We got Heath Ledger's Joker, the maniacal clown prince of crime in The Dark Knight.
I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. It's gone.
The end of Nolan's trilogy came in 2012. The Dark Knight Rises was much more emotional and a little bit different in tone than its predecessors. Although there are some flaws, The Dark Knight Rises ended the Nolan trilogy with a bang, a literal bang. In case you want to know more about the Nolan trilogy, you can check out our Instagram post titled the same. Moving on. DCEU. Post Nolan, the studios planned for a cinematic universe. Modeling on the highly successful Marvel Cinematic Universe, DC Comics wanted their own franchise, their own universe. That's how DC's Extended Universe was born. With Zack Snyder's Man of Steel in 2013, DCEU officially kicked off. Neither Nolan nor Bale wanted to be a part of DCEU. One could only imagine what Bale's Batman would have looked like in 2016's Batman vs Superman. In 2016, Snyder gave us Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. In this film, duties of Cape Crusader of DC were carried by Ben Affleck. While everyone had assumed that his performance would not be up to mark, he proved everyone wrong. Affleck's Batman, or Batfleck, was an instant fan favorite. His Batman was an older and kind of already settled down version. This created a realistic effect and shows us the older years of Batman on screen. Batfleck fled from BVS to a cameo in Suicide Squad to 2017's Justice League, although there is a whole different story about Justice League. Joss Whedon. Let's not go there. Due to the failure of Justice League and various other issues, DCEU's future seemed to be struggling. Still, 2021 Snyder Cut, officially named Zack Snyder's Justice League, seemed like a refreshment. Ben Affleck reprised his role for a few reshoots. Also, the interesting thing is that Affleck is reprising his role in a cameo in this year's The Flash. This might be Affleck's last appearance as Batman, which is sad because Affleck was a pretty badass Batman. I mean, just look at this. Matt Reeves' franchise. In 2017, Matt Reeves replaced Ben Affleck as a writer in Batman's standalone film. Affleck was going to write and direct this film. Reeves initially had plans to keep the film in DCEU, but due to the creative differences, this decision was changed. What we are seeing now in theaters is Robert Pattinson's Batman, which was also a controversial pick to be honest, focusing on the younger version of Dark Knight fighting Penguin, Riddler and much more. Well, Robert Pattinson really proved us all wrong. The reviews are stating that this is one of the best Batman films ever, which only adds to our goosebumps. And Reeves seems to have a trilogy planned, but only time will tell. And there we go, my friends. This was Batman Through the Ages. We hope you enjoyed this video. It was meant to find the history of Batman through various times, the style and reason behind certain choices. We are amped up to see the Batman and we hope you are too. That's it for today. Like, share and subscribe to Illogical Creations for more movie related content ahead. And also don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook for similar content and updates about the videos. Bye and thanks for watching.
I gotta give it to you, Batman. That was awesome.
And you were awesome, and
Thanks.
you were awesome.
I love compliments.
You were awesome, and I was amazing.